Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte and Indonesian President Jokowi agreed to ramp up joint efforts against terrorism amid the growing threat of ISIS in Southeast Asia. Malacanang on Tuesday says Duterte received a phone call from Jokowi at around 7:30 p.m. Wednesday. Presidential spokesman Ernesto Abella says, quote, "The call was productive and fruitful. They both reaffirmed the need to step up cooperation to address threats posed by terrorism and violent extremism." Jokowi also reiterates his vow to help the Philippines address terror threats, even as clashes between the terrorist Maute Group and Philippine security forces continue in Marawi City. In previous meetings between the two leaders, terrorism and security issues were among their main topics of discussion. Duterte went to Indonesia in September for a state visit, while Jokowi returned the gesture with a trip to the Philippines in April. Their phone conversation happened the night before the trilateral meeting of the Philippines, Indonesia, and Malaysia on counterterrorism. Detained former Senator Bong Revilla skips the first day of his plunder trial at the Sandigan Bayan Thursday because he was confined at the St. Luke's Medical Center in Bonifacio Global City. Revilla's absence comes as a surprise to justices of the Anti-Graft Court's First Division. His lawyer Rayan Balisi says the former senator has been confined for hypertension since Tuesday at St. Luke's, but there is neither a motion nor a court resolution for the confinement. The former senator is on trial for his alleged involvement in the multi-billion peso pork barrel scam. Revilla was already at St. Luke's on Tuesday for the second and last day of his visit to his ailing father, former Senator Ramon Revilla Sr., a furlough approved by the Sandigan Bayan. It was during his visit that he supposedly suffered from high blood pressure and had to be confined.
We were informed about the sheriff's presence and the sheriff's reporting to the court. Well, that was only relayed to us also.
Sandigan Bayan First Division Clerk of Court Estela Rosete says they were informed that Revilla suffered from high blood pressure but wasn't told that he would be confined. The Sandigan Bayan on Thursday sentences former Presidential Commission on Good Government Chairman Camilo Sabio to 12 to 20 years in prison for graft. The Anti-Graft Court's First Division convicts Sabio, who turns 82 in July, of 2 counts of graft, stemming from anomalous vehicle leases in 2007 and 2009 when he was PCGG chair. Each count of graft carries a sentence of 6 to 12 years. Sabio entered into a lease deal with UCPB Leasing and Finance Corporation without public bidding. The first time was in 2007 for 5 service vehicles for 5.3 million pesos, and the second in 2009 for 6 service vehicles for 6.7 million pesos. The court found that these were not within budget and that the PCGG already had available vehicles. The Sandigan Bayan, in its decision, says it can only conclude that Sabio was motivated by a, quote, dishonest purpose when he subjected the PCGG and the government to an unnecessary expense. Sabio appears in court with wife Marlene, who had to assist him when walking. Mrs. Sabio says they will appeal the decision. The Philippines will not host the 66th Miss Universe pageant. Tourism Secretary Wanda Teo on Thursday confirms the country will not host the prestigious pageant at the end of the year. In May, Teo said the Miss Universe organization asked if the Philippines could host the pageant again. At the time, she said the DOT will still discuss the proposal with President Rodrigo Duterte. Fashion designer Rene Salud earlier said Teo told him the pageant will not push through because Solar Entertainment's Wilson Tieng and other investors advised against it. Salud says, quote, if we can't hold an event that is at par with 2016's, if we can't surpass that, especially now that there's a Marawi incident, there might be a lot of people who will be offended. North Korea on Thursday calls United States President Donald Trump a psychopath as tensions soar following the death of American student Otto Warmbier, who was evacuated in a coma from North Korean detention last week. Pyongyang's official Rodong Sinmun newspaper says Trump claimed he was toying with the idea of a preemptive strike on North Korea to divert attention from a domestic political crisis. The newspaper in an editorial says, quote, South Korea must realize that following psychopath Trump will only lead to disaster. Warmbier's death has further strained relations between Pyongyang and Washington, following increased tensions over North Korea's missile tests. Trump earlier slammed Pyongyang's brutal regime, saying he was determined to prevent such tragedies from befalling innocent people at the hands of regimes that do not respect the rule of law or basic human decency.